My name's Enrique Espinosa, and I'm a car enthusiast. uh, I'm from Colombia, South America, and we started importing cars, I don't know, maybe like 5 years ago. My family has a logistics company down in Colombia, in Bogota, and so it makes it kind of easy for us to just bring stuff in. We started out primarily just bringing in Land Rovers, 4x4s. There's a lot of 4x4s down there. There's a lot of like farmers, so people are still using these things from the 60s and 70s. Um, so we started just importing some 4x4 stuff, Land Rovers mostly. Um, that's been a ton of fun. We've done a handful of those. You've seen some of them. Right now we just have one. We've got the green one back there. That's my next project. And then, a lot of people don't know this, but in in Colombia, outside of Medellin, there is still, I believe it's still there, but there was a French Renault factory. Uh, and so Renault has had a huge impact in the Colombian industry, car industry. Renaults in Colombia were still are people, there were like cars that are by the people for the people. They're economy cars. In my I still have a ton of family down there. I could probably name at least three family members that have a Renault Logan now.
Is that kind of what got you interested in them?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if that it really is. I like them obviously too. My father-in-law is a huge car collector. He's had, you know, a lot to do with us being here right now. He's injected the whole car thing into us, but I think so. The nostalgia of the French cars and with Renault having such an impact down there. Everybody has Renaults down there. It's really it's kind of wild. I think I was reading something about it. I think Renault is I think they have like seven. It's like 7% of the Colombian GDP because of of the factories and stuff down there. So big influence. I remember growing up, everybody had Renaults. The R4 was like the first one that they started making down there, and just everybody had that. It was a very economic car, for the lower middle class, lower upper class. But and that's the latest that's the latest thing that we're importing is it's a version of the R4 actually. It's called the plein air. And we can talk more about the plein air, but that's really how this whole like importing cars from South America thing started for us. Mainly due to the fact that my family has a logistics company, and it's kind of easy to, just kind of pull the trigger and not have to jump through too many hoops, or at least know how to do that, right? There's a lot of, especially now with the tariffs, there's a bunch of stuff you got to jump through to get cars here to the U.S. But having that has made it a lot easier, and so it's just kind of fun to bring those over, man. But
Okay. So the knowing your family, well, I guess does any of your family work in the Renault plant down there, or
no, no, not that I know of. That would be interesting. Nobody's ever asked me that. That'd be an interesting to ask some of my folks about. Not to my knowledge. I don't know that we had any kind of like direct ties to any of the manufacturing down there,
it's just a
but
big part of the culture down there?
it really is, man. You go down there, Renault is still a really big brand. The new Renaults, right? They're still a really big, really, really big brand down there. There's new Renault dealerships all over the cities. Um, and people appreciate them. They're economy cars, right? There's nothing like luxurious about them. They're kind of like down to the basics, and that's what a lot of people drive down there. You go down to third world countries like that, and you don't see a lot of exotic stuff, right? You see a lot of like functional economic automobiles that just kind of get the job done. But
Are they like the classics? Kind of like if you look at Cuba. Cuba has a lot of older cars from the 50s, 60s that they're keeping alive. Are they older
Sure.
cars like that from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, or are they also new cars?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely new. I mean, I think the factory is still up and running, so definitely a lot of new. But the classic car culture down there, as you would expect in really any kind of third world country, is it's small, right? I mean, it's just there's not a ton of people that can afford to have a non-daily driver vehicle, much less keep it up. And uh, but that almost makes it like a little bit more um special, because the people that do have them, I mean, there's definitely like a little cult for, especially you see people now taking really good care of those R4s
Mhm.
that were once the cars that just everybody drove, the family car that everybody took on vacation, everybody had them. And you definitely see them now pop up in car shows down there where people have restored them and just kept them up really. So,
Mhm.
but
So you have like the Austin Healey, you have the Defender there. You obviously have this. You have the cars outside. Do you have
yeah.
a favorite out of all of them? Whether that's a French car like the
Favorite car, man. Yeah, that's always a question that comes up with our little fleet. I mean, I love the Land Rovers. I love the early Land Rovers. So the early series Land Rovers, right? The series were like the predecessors of the Defender. Um, and I love those. There's still a lot of those down in South America.
and what's
And
your favorite series?
I mean, I've never had a Series 1. That's the really early, really, really early ones. They're really tough to find. Um, but I the ones I really like are the Series 2, Series 2A. Those are the ones that I um kind of lean towards. I mean, they are the ones that they're the ones that really, how do I explain it? I mean, the Series 2 obviously came before the Series 3, but the Series 2 were the ones who they came right before the plastic era kind of hit the automotive industry. And so it's before the dashes became filled with plastic parts, mold injected, plastic mold injection. So the Series 2s were still, the dash, everything inside the car was still kind of like metal, right? Aluminum, leftover aluminum from the war, from the airplanes. So everything inside the car was still made out of metal, which makes them very easy to kind of refurbish, right? You can sandblast them, you can sand them, you can repaint them, which is really tough to do with plastic. Although I know now there's kids getting into like 3D printing and stuff, so I think that's going to be kind of cool too. But that's got a little ways to go. Um, so yeah, I gravitate towards the Series 2As. That's getting like a little bit more technical, but those are the ones that I'm into. That's what we got in there. That's my personal next project. That one came from the one that's in there. The green one came from South America. It came from Colombia. Um, and we've got a little bit of work left to do on it. There's a couple of things I wasn't super happy with when it showed up, and so we got a wiring harness that we're gonna completely redo the electrical on that one, and then hopefully by the spring there's gonna be a driver. It's gonna be, yeah, I'm excited. It's gonna be good. It's gonna be a good one.
So I know you mentioned obviously you were importing the printers and everything, and then now you're transitioning more to the planar.
So yeah, the plein air, right? So I'll tell you what I know about those little cars. So Fiat had the Jolly.
Mm-hmm.
If you're familiar with the Fiat Jolly,
You have one of
uh,
those too, right?
we don't have a Fiat Jolly. That is definitely maybe on the list. We don't have a Fiat Jolly. But the Fiat Jolly, that was based on the Fiat 500, tiny, tiny little car. Uh, and Fiat hired, I believe it was Gia, to do the body work on the Jollies, and the Jolly was it was a beach mobile. It was a car that celebrities bought. Like wealthy Europeans purchased to put on their yachts to take over to their private island. They could jump it off the yacht onto off the yacht onto the island. Um, uh, so that was Fiat. That's who kind of started the whole like beach car, beach mobile movement in the 60s. And then Citroen had their, their answer to that was the Mohari, right? So you had the Citroen Mohari, um, which is an, awesome car. You had, the Mini Moke came shortly after that. Um, and then Renault's answer to that was the plein air. Plein air means like open air, fresh air, right? So it's based, directly on the R4, and it's basically an R4 with the roof chopped off, the doors chopped off, and it's just a total beach car. But the Fiat Jolly obviously had tremendous success. I mean, people still have a cult following for them. The plein air did not have that success. The plein air was a complete flop. I think worldwide they sold less than 600 of them. So, you know, financially speaking, it was a big flop. But we found one. We found one in South America, or at least maybe a replica of it. I don't know yet. We bought the car sight unseen. It's on a boat. It should be landing in Jacksonville any day now. So we're excited to see it. But yeah, Renault plein air, very few of them. Not because they're rare, but because it was just a complete manufacturing flop, really. Um, but it's a quirky, weird French beach mobile, and I couldn't be more excited about it. I think it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait to see it. Hopefully in a few weeks it'll be here at the garage here at the shop. But
Do you think, I guess, why are you doing all the importing? Obviously, there's got to be some sort of either financial aspect to it, where there's an emotional aspect to it, where you're importing it because you genuinely like the cars and you want the cars. Or I know there's obviously enough fender parts around here where there's stuff happening there. Is it a business decision with Onset Classics? Is it a personal decision that you like the cars, or is it bringing them in to sell?
um, it's a mixture of all of the above. I mean, there are some financial there are some financial benefits of importing a car, and also of having the labor to do the restoration done abroad. Um, there's definitely some financial incentives. But it's really just, I mean, it's really just for fun too. I mean, we have our day jobs. And, this is a total kind of side gig for us. I mean, it's really just for fun. But yeah, I mean, taking advantage of some of the labor costs. But it's also not as straightforward as you would think. I mean, yes, there are, folks in other countries make a lot less than folks here in the United States, but also they don't have the resources that we have. They don't have a $100,000 paint booth, right? So there's some quality issues. There's a little bit of more babysitting that you have to do when you restore a car overseas. Um, so but to answer your question, yeah, it's a mixture of things. I mean, yeah, it definitely makes sense. I think financially to do it, once you get it up and running, once you do it a few times, once you figure out the intricacies of doing a restoration abroad. Um, but also too, I mean, some of some of the French cars, like I mean, for example, this car here, you have to import them. You really don't have a choice. So it's a mix of things, right? It's um, and most of the cars we're bringing in are just for fun. We're keeping some of them. We keep most of them. Yeah, we've offloaded a few of the Defenders of the series Land Rover series trucks we've brought in, but some of it is really just kind of a funky thing that we found somewhere, and we're lucky enough to have the ease to be able to import them and bring them in pretty easily, and so we've been doing that, but yeah.
Is there any cars that, obviously there's a 25-year-old for cars coming in?
Yeah,
They have to be over that 25-year rule, or else they're off-road use only, or whatever.
that's right.
Are there any cars that, let's say they don't yet fall under that 25-year rule, that you might want to bring in at some point, whether it
Mm,
be one of the French cars from Argentina or
yeah,
anywhere like that, even if it's in Europe or somewhere?
sure, yeah. Um, I haven't. I don't think I have anything like. I don't think we have anything in the sites right now that's less than 25 years old. Um, you know, yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, we're if anything, it's yeah, everything is past the 25-year mark. Um, but you originally asked me about this guy, the 2CV, um, and I wanted to mention, people did this car was manufactured for over I think over 40 years. It started in I think the first years were like 1948, and it was manufactured up to the 1990s. So it had like a 40-year run. Um, and people did some pretty sketchy things, I think, with the titles when they were importing them. Um, the only way, people are always asking me like, "Hey, what year is this? What year is it?" I don't know exactly, because, like I said, people did some pretty wonky things when they were importing them. Um, I want to say this was like early 80s, and the only way that I can tell, I mean, I'm sure there's folks out there they can tell you about it. They have a huge cult following, but the color schemes will kind of tell you what era, what years they were brought in. But I know that some of the titles for these guys were definitely, and it was easy to do because the car really didn't change much at all over the course of those 40 years. But anyway, just thought it was worth mentioning because we're standing in front of this little guy.
Are there any of your cars that, let's say, you'd want to do over? Like this one, if it was sketchy getting it into the country, are there any cars that you think you want to re-import, a different version of it, different model of it, year or whatever?
I mean, the plein air that's our first one that we're bringing with the first R4 plein air that we're bringing in. We're super excited about it. For personally, because I think it's gonna be super fun to drive down to the beach, with the top down, and I think it's gonna be a blast. But I could see that becoming, I could see that maybe becoming a little bit of you know, uh, a replacement for some of the golf carts that we see around town, right? You see people, golf carts are street legal. You see people hopping around golf carts. I'm like, hey, you're gonna spend 30,000 on on a really high end golf cart. Like, why not buy something that has a lot more character that nobody else has? Um, so yeah, maybe. I mean, it's the first one we're doing. I don't know. Maybe we'll do some more. We'll see. I think we probably will, but I don't know. We'll see. I don't want to get too excited because, like I said, we bought it sight unseen. It does drive though. My cousin sent me a picture of it the other day. He was driving it to the port down in South America. He sent me a video of it. He said he got a ton of honks and waves when he was driving it. So yeah, we're excited to see it. But yeah, hopefully that's the first of a bunch of those we bring in. I think that'll be fun.
You said the first one was tough to find.
Well, yeah, I mean, the plein airs are really, like I said, it was a huge flop. So there was just not a lot of them, right? They did, however, sell a number of sort of body kits that you had an R4, and you would take your R4 and you would buy this body kit from Renault, and then you could sort of retrofit your R4 to become a plein air. And they did sell a number of those kits. The number of kits I think it's fairly unknown. I mean, they didn't. I don't think they really like kept as tight records as they did of like actual plein airs manufactured. So that number is a little bit, just a little bit more gray. So I'm sure the one that we're bringing is a kit is a one that was retrofitted. Um, but still super exciting. I mean, the reality is, these beach cars that I'm talking about, the Fiat Jollies, the Mini Mokes, the Citroen Mares, the Plein Airs by Renault. These cars were, they were, steel chassis, steel panels. The Mari wasn't, but you know, all steel cars, and they were beach cars, right? They were like beach buggies essentially, and so they took a beating. I mean, they were out in the sun. They were near the coast. They were usually used in coastal cities, and so a lot of them just didn't survive. Uh, the Jolly is something that, the Fiat Jolly is a car that's now been replicated. I mean, because you can still find some of the Fiat 500s, and then there's a number of companies out there that are retrofitting them into Jollies. But to find an original Jolly, I mean, that's tough. I mean, these original beach cars, uh, most of them probably, kind of rusted away. So I'm happy with, finding anything, anything that has a resemblance to the plein air. We're excited to see it.
Walk me through, I guess, your current car collection. You got some pretty funky ones out there.
Yeah. Oh man, that's a rough question. I mean, our family has a kind of a it's a family collection, right? And but yeah, it's eclectic for sure. Um, the 10,000 foot view is mostly British. Definitely definitely a good bit of French stuff in there. Um, a little bit of Japanese stuff. And lastly, my dad actually just purchased a 1966 red Mustang convertible with a V8, which is an absolute monster. Literally just got this car, doesn't even have the plates yet. But I drove it the other day and it is a beast. I'm not used to American muscle. I'm used to little British roadsters. I mean, the car here, the French car that we're looking at here it's a two-cylinder 28 horsepower car, right? So this is the opposite of fast. Um, but that's actually my favorite car to drive in all of our little collection, little fleet. Uh, the main reason being, I think, well, one, the suspension. The suspension in these cars was flawless. I mean, it was top notch. You feel like you're driving on a little cloud. But the second thing is you just can't get in a hurry. Like you cannot. You have 28 horsepower. You can't get in a hurry. So um okay, what else, man? We have an Austin Healey, Bug Eye, Sprite. Uh to me, this is my definition of fast. I mean, that and the Lotus, that's about the fastest things we have. I we gravitate towards the kind of fun, funky kind of beach. I don't know if I had to put a like a common denominator on our collection, it would be kind of like cool cars that you can drive down to the beach in.
You live minutes from the beach, so
Right. We're here in the garage. We're a few miles from the beach. So that I think that's the common denominator for us. Um, but the Land Rovers, the 4x4 stuff, that's super fun. We have a little Suzuki Samurai sitting outside. That's like the never lets you down Asian car. It will just crank up anytime, no matter what, no matter how long it's been sitting. Like it's going to crank up and go. It's super reliable. Um, but yeah, the French stuff. We have a 2CV. That's like a super iconic French car, right? Uh, the Renault Fuego. That's like a little 1980s coupe. Kind of like the beginning of the sports car. Little fiery. Super fun to drive. Um, what else? Classic minis. Gosh, we definitely have a thing for classic minis. Those little Mini Coopers. They're small. They're easy to work on. They're super fun to drive. Um, what else can I tell you? Some motorcycles. I haven't been on a motorcycle in a long time, but we got a few motorcycles. Um, yeah, I was in some motorcycle accidents, a couple of motorcycle accidents when I was young. I've kind of sworn off the two wheels at least for a little while, uh, but I don't know. I'm 45. I just turned 45 this year, and it might be my midlife crisis, but I'm thinking about getting back on the motorcycle. I'm thinking about getting my license again. So I think it's gonna happen. It's just I'm very methodical. I kind of like take a long time making decisions, but I think the motorcycle license is gonna happen. I'm gonna hop back on the bikes. It's gonna be a good time. Might as well. I mean, they're sitting around. They're fun to look at, but they're a lot more fun to ride. um, what else? What else? Guys, we have a Silver Shadow. The Silver Shadow is it's kind of like the airport pickup car. We live in Charleston, tons of visitors. Obviously, everybody loves to come visit Charleston, and picking up somebody from the airport in a Silver Shadow is kind of like, you can't really beat that. The people just smile ear to ear when they see you pulling up in that thing. So that's a lot of fun. Um, and then other than that, man, we've got our daily drivers. We've got kind of a defender family. We got the four-door Defender, and then that's kind of our grocery getter. That's kind of our road trip mobile. And then we have the two-door, which is a little first edition soft top. Um, it's got the bench seat in the front. We have a 9-year-old daughter. She sits in the front. So we sit three wide across the front in our, in our new Defender. It's kind of fun. Um, what else, man? Honestly, I think that's kind of it, man. Yeah, the 2CV. I think we talked about that a good bit. The 28 horsepower beast. What else is outside? Nothing, man. I think that kind of covers most of
Okay.
it.
One second now.
On-set classics, man. Yeah, this just kind of came about because we have a little car fleet. We have interest in the classic car market, and we decided to start a little website, start a little company, and it's been getting some traction. It's been a lot of fun. We basically will rent out a car from our fleet for your photo shoot, your movie. Um, you know, we've had a number of like clothing brands call us and say, hey, we really like this car, we really like that car. Um, weddings, engagement photography, just tons of photo shoots. But yeah, it's been a lot of fun. We kind of do it on the side. It's a good excuse to like keep the fleet clean and running and maintained, because you never know when somebody's going to call and say, hey, let's we need one of the onset classic cars on our shoot. So yeah, that's been a ton of fun. A lot of like, it's been fun kind of creating the marketing material. And um Lauren, my fiance, is she's super creative, and she does a lot of the apparel. So I don't know, we're hopefully gonna like evolve it into a little bit of like a bigger brand. But yeah, for now it's just kind of fun way to get our cars out there, get some really good photography, get some good exposure. So it's fun when other people get to enjoy the cars, right? I mean, driving them is obviously a blast. Working on them can be fun sometimes, and sometimes it can be really frustrating. I enjoy that part. I'm a mechanical engineer. I like getting my hands dirty. I'll get in there. I can figure some basic stuff out, um, but yeah, watching other people enjoy the cars and seeing their take on, you know, photographing the cars or filming the cars is super fun and rewarding. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun with that onset classics. Yeah, we've got a little website. Website, Instagram is the main outreach for us there.
What do you see for the future? I guess it's kind of wrapping it all up. What do you see for the future? Are there cars, the importing, the ones that classics, of all of it?
In the future, I see a bigger garage. I love this garage, man. I do really love. I mean, this is the reason we bought the house. Like 100%. This is the reason we bought the house. Love the garage. Love the history of the garage. An old British car mechanic used to operate his shop out of this garage. Um, so love the character, love the history of it. Um, Ideally, I wish it was like, 3 times bigger and, we had some more room. But, I definitely don't wanna just accumulate, I want to there's a lot of guys that would just buy and buy and buy and buy. We want to try to do a really good job of, like, buying something and maintaining it, keeping its originality, making it functional, being able to have fun with it, being able to maybe take it to a photo shoot, being able to rent it out to, a film crew or a clothing brand or whoever wants to use it for their campaign. That is super fun. So I envision us doing that a lot more for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, hopefully outgrowing this space, in the future and continue to import, whether it's 4x4s or the funky, French stuff that we really like. And not just from South America, hopefully from other places. But yeah, definitely continuing to import, continuing to grow onset classics. I think it's a really fun avenue for us. I think it's a really great, like, creative outlet for us. Um, so yeah, those two streams there, I vividly see continuing to grow for us. But yeah, we'll need a bigger shop.
Is there anything you want to touch on? I'm good. I got all my things I need.
uh, yeah, I don't know, man. What else? I don't know. What else? What didn't we hit?
About your the events you guys put on, little get-togethers and stuff.
Gosh, yeah. So when we purchased the this property, the gentleman who lived here, uh, like I mentioned, he's a British car mechanic, and on Friday afternoons, he had a client appreciation happy hour. It was a very kind of a quick, hey, let's grab a beer at the house, meet at the shop. We can talk cars, we can talk shop. And so that was like a Friday afternoon tradition. And then when we purchased the property for him from him, we said, hey, that's kind of a cool little tradition. Let's keep it alive. So we said, hey, car parties, let's just continue to keep it alive. We don't do it every single Friday, obviously, but we've definitely kind of pumped it up a bit. A lot more people, a lot more cars. Um, it's kind of turned into a pool party at times. um, excuse me. Um, but yeah, we definitely want to continue that. What we call it car party. So we say, hey, are we having a car party this weekend? But yeah, it's really just a way for us to get some of our friends out here to the garage and to the shop. We open up the doors, we serve some drinks, we'll do some oysters or, charcuterie or whatever it may be. And then our friends will bring their cars. It's always very weather dependent. It's, you never really know who's going to show up. We've got a really big, fun group of network of classic car people here in Charleston, and every car party is different. You never know who's going to show up. You never know what they're going to bring. There's literally times where people will show up to car party, people that I know and I have known for years, and they show up in a brand, not brand new, but they show up in a classic car that I've never seen before. I'm like, man, I didn't know you had that. So it's always fun. I think for other people, it's a fun excuse to kind of get out and just come by and just pop in. But yeah, car party.
It's the original name. I like that.
Car party at the Ronald Lane. That's it. Um, yeah, man. Good times.
Do you want to put